405 with Will Christ. Join him as he and his guests discover how businesses thrive in California.
Well, welcome to Pilgrim on the 405. We're going to have a great time today talking to somebody who has immigrated from Maine to Santa Cruz and gotten into lots of trouble now with his new enterprise. So, Josh Wilbur, welcome.
All right. Hi. Nice to be here.
It's a nice crowd you got there that you're driving with behind you, huh?
Yeah, I always travel with my crew here.
Well, Josh, so tell us a little bit about what you are up to there with Steeped Coffee.
Yeah. We're just kind of cranking away on this thing up here in Santa Cruz. We are essentially making a new single serve coffee product. It's a whole new category and a new way of brewing coffee, called steeped coffee or steeping coffee. So it's made a lot like you would make tea, but it's coffee bags, and we've done a lot of work to make it as simple as it is. But essentially, all you need is water and some steeped coffee, and you've got yourself a barista approved cup of coffee. So it's as easy as it gets, no machines required. And we're trying to get rid of all of the kind of the pain points with, previous single serve options. So, more of a redeemed single serve method with environmentally, ethically, and then, everything, simplicity as well and convenience. So, that's what we've been doing. So
what's the advantage over a Keurig?
Just pods in general. They all require a machine. There's barrier to entry. Only 25% of homes have them, roughly. Offices, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of waste that comes along with it too. We did some calculations of our own and dug deep into the stats on sales per year and all that kind of stuff. And from 2009 forward, there's been enough pods that you could place side by side that would wrap around the planet 130 times. And those are all in landfills and kind of gunking up our waste stream and a lot of plastics in the environment. And that's not even to mention the machines, which are also even more so unrecyclable and, kind of get funky as well, hard to clean and break down and all those kind of things. So we wanted to just kind of rethink single serve in general and say, hey, this is supposed to be convenient, supposed to be easy. How can we do that? And that we just kind of set off on that journey to make that a reality and do it in a way that didn't have an impact. So that's been a big part of our story.
All right. So was this something you did alone? Was it in a group of people?
Oh, we have an awesome group now. The team's amazing. Every single person is, just doing incredible things at Steeped. But it started off, I think I had the idea like 7-8 years ago. And, I was on my way to the in-laws for Thanksgiving and I didn't want to drink, what they had on tap there. So I started, from Santa Cruz, we're pretty spoiled. We have a lot of amazing coffee companies here, and you just kind of end up learning about specialty coffee and, direct trade sourcing and, how to ethically get coffee and how it's specially roasted and all these things by hand. And so when you, want to take that with you, it requires a grinder and, beans and, scales and all kinds of brewing apparatuses depending on your mood. And I was like, this should be easier just to bring coffee along to Thanksgiving for the weekend. So I started, making a minimal viable product and tinkering and had a little fun with it and made all my friends try it, and they all rolled their eyes at me. And, it was okay, but it was still just coffee in a tea bag. And then I ended up shelving it and getting involved with a bunch of other startups. I did a fintech payment company I was on the founding team of that, and then I actually did some ministry for a little while at a really kind of just awesome church, doing a lot of cool things with younger people and creativity and art and all kinds of fun stuff.
In
And
Santa
then
Cruz? Is that in
what's
Santa,
that?
in
Yeah,
Santa
yeah, in
Cruz?
Santa Cruz, yeah, a place called Vintage Faith Church. And that was a really cool experience. And I had already run a marketing company for about 15 years, so it was a good break too, and just kind of, you know, switch things up a little bit. And then I ended up doing another project called Bibliotheca, which was a viral kind of took off from it's one of the I think most successful publishing Kickstarters they had done. We did like 2.3 in pre-sales by the time it launched, and it was a um, Bible project, but it's just kind of a new format, all designed and high quality materials and stuff like that. So I did that for a few years, and that gave me a real taste for physical goods,
Hmm.
where I just got to see a product dreamed up, created, produced, and then um, distributed, and getting it into people's hands, and just seeing that kind of amazing feedback, and how when someone cares about the little details and the beauty that you put into something, it can really make an impact. So um, coming off of that, I picked steeped coffee idea back up, and just started doing some international trips and trade shows, and just meeting with baristas and especially coffee companies and Q tasters and you name it, and just started really digging into the details on packaging and different options for all kinds of different things, to get steeped coffee to a place where we could be proud of it, and it wouldn't have an impact, and it would have that kind of quality that anyone, whether you're a coffee snob or whether you're, just wanting to have a quick cup of coffee on the go, um, would be happy to, to try. So that's how
Well,
that
now,
started.
first question that comes to mind is where do you get it now? Can you buy it in stores? Have you released it to stores?
Yeah, so we started off online. We did a little Kickstarter, just more of a launch. It went really well. I don't even think we sent out an email, and we met our goal pretty quick.
Yeah.
Um, but we now sell it on steepedcoffee.com, which is just how it sounds, STEEPED, like you're steeping, tea or now coffee.
Hmm.
So steepedcoffee.com. And then we're also on Amazon, so people can do Amazon purchases or Prime and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Um, and then we're also partnered with, so because it's a new brewing method and a new technology, we didn't want to just keep it to ourselves. We worked really hard to perfect it. So we decided pretty early on, we wanted to share it with others. So we've been licensing out our technology to some of the top roasters around the country and the globe.
Oh,
Um, yeah, and we're actually partnered up with about, I think, just over 130 brands in the last year and change.
oh,
Um, yeah, with the likes of Counterculture. Um, uh, we've I don't know, in the LA area, we did a partnership with Chamberlain Coffee, which is kind of cool. A lot of specialty coffee companies in California, Cat and Cloud here in Santa Cruz, Dark Horse down there where you guys are, Southern California, and a number of other ones as well, and just some phenomenal companies that we've been able to work with, but yeah, and companies as well. So um, just doing some pretty neat things with the technology itself. So
so what? Tell me about the technology. What is it that's so special about it? I mean, take the
yeah,
coffee, put it in a a linen or a cotton bag, and throw it in the water.
right, yeah. So, sometimes I guess this I don't know I had this saying that the more simple something is, the more difficult it was to achieve.
Uh-huh.
To make something simple is actually pretty hard when you just throw a bunch of technology at it and you have machines that sing and dance. It's not really innovating. It's just adding more kind of noise, I think, to the environment. But what we tried to do is put a lot of thought and a lot of detail into a ton of different aspects, which really helped this become its own unique thing that works well. So, all kinds of little things that we've done, from our full immersion filters, which are specifically designed to let water flow in, keep the grinds there, and then flavor out, versus a tea bag would just let all the grinds into your cup, and a coffee filter would keep all the water out. So it had to be very special in that sense. We triple nitrogen seal all of our stuff. So it removes the oxygen from the bag. So after we've precision ground the coffee, so it's the same every time, and we put the right amount of coffee in, 15-to-1 ratio for Specialty Coffee Association standards, you've got this coffee now in a bag without oxygen, so there's no oxidation, so it doesn't go bad. So when you open it up, it smells like it's freshly ground just moments ago, because it essentially stops the time on the coffee. As soon as we grind it, we package it, and so on and so forth. So our process is pretty specific, down to the micron of the grind, all the way to our full immersion filters, to the nitrogen sealing, and then how much we're putting in, and all these other things we're doing. And then, at the end of the day, one of the biggest things we did is we actually refused to use any packaging that wasn't environmentally sustainable. And when we launched, that was a pretty difficult choice to have made, because nothing really existed to our standards. So we actually created some packaging as well. And we now have the first fully compostable single serve method, the whole thing, the outer packaging, the filter, the string, the tab, everything is certified fully compostable. So that's something we're really proud of as well. And, we just launched that out officially on Earth Day recently, just that's now the case. So we've been using compostable materials the whole time. But we refactored one of our packaging aspects to make it a little bit more closer to home, supply chain management, less travel, and all those kind of little details. So we had to get it recertified, but now we're off and running again with fully certified, the whole thing compostable.
Well, let me ask you a tough question.
Yep.
Are you profitable?
We are on our way. We're getting there. So we're startup mode, Yep. We're agile, we're lean, we're mean. We're just kind of, we've seen some incredible growth year over year, and we didn't launch product until 2018. We incorporated in 2017, so we're pretty new. But we've been growing very quickly. We've just, between the incredible partnerships that we have and everything else, it's things are definitely catching on, and steeped coffee is becoming more of a household name and a recognized brewing method on how you can actually experience and enjoy good coffee. So that's been a lot of fun.
Well, what's the source of your coffee?
Yeah, so for our own brand, it's we have a couple local partners here where it's all, I'd say, probably top 5, top 10 coffee in the country. It's amazing, really good, all ethically sourced, directly traded, direct with farmers and all that kind of stuff. We're paying 2-3x fair trade value, and all of those details. So that's our coffee. When we send it out, people are amazed, they're surprised, is very common. Like, well, I didn't want to say it, but I wasn't expecting this to be as good as it was. And so all of that. And then the rest of it is really, we're the method and the technology behind it. So it's whatever coffee you put into it is really the coffee that can be used as well. So each one of our roasters that we're partnering with, all of these incredible specialty coffee companies are, trialing their best coffees within it and then launching those out. So there's a lot of variety out there. There's hundreds of different roasts to try, depending on where you go and which ones you try. So
good.
Yeah.
Well, that's excellent. So what have been the biggest obstacles that you had to overcome?
I think one of our sayings early on has been business, your coffee without compromise or business without compromise. And just trying to be a startup while trying to stick to core values and a really strong ethos is, extra challenging because you're dealing with additional costs for compostable materials and figuring out entire new supply chains and trying to make things affordable for others and having to do some pretty creative things. So that's been a tough one, but I kind of knew that was going to be a challenge early on. So before we even got started, I incorporated us as a benefit corporation. So we're legally allowed to pursue purpose as well as profits, double bottom line company. And then we also quickly became a B Corp, certified B Corp, which is third party certification by the B Lab for basically going above and beyond and in all aspects of our business. So whether it's environmental or socially responsible or even progressive business employee benefits and all these different things that kind of come into play. So we try to really make an impact from all aspects of our business, and that's been a challenging thing to do within business, but also probably one of the strongest things that separates us and sets us apart from other companies.
My prayer is
so I think it's been worth it.
My prayer is that you quit trying and just do it.
What's that?
My prayer is that you quit trying and just do it.
Yeah, no, we've been doing it.
Good. That's good. Well, yeah. So how many people are in the company now?
We're at I think we're just over 20 now. Employees, and we have a pretty large network of independent contractors, different roles around the country as well. But yeah, we're expanding quickly, so those keep growing out, and each one of our employees was doing 6 roles, and now they're all doing 2, hopefully 1 soon, and so it's been a lot of fun.
All right, so now are all 20 people in Santa Cruz, or are they remote? Where are you?
Well, geez, I mean, everyone's remote now pretty much, but everyone's pretty much here at their homes now, staying home, staying healthy. We've been big advocates of that early on. We kind of did some testing early on to make sure we were equipped for that whole thing, which was paid off. And and just trying to roll with the punches with all this. We're an essential business, being in manufacturing and coffee. So we've had the fortune of being able to keep things running. But we've done we've kind of gone above and beyond with all of our current practices with all this stuff, with COVID happening and everything. So only essential personnel are at the headquarters, and we're doing shift spacing and zoning and protective gear and all kinds of scheduled cleanings, and you name it. We're gloves, mask, way before it was required. It's just one of those things that we didn't want to take any chances with. So we've really gone above and beyond with all of our protocols and continued to brainstorm and add on new ones just in case. Because, everything that we've always done is kind of, as much, details and perfection as we could, because we're really stewarding a lot of other people's beans and coffee. And when something's been handpicked from someone you have a relationship with at a farm, and then it's been processed and dried and shipped across the world and then specially roasted and given to us, we want to make sure that it's taken really good care of, as if it was an extension of each roaster we work with, company as well. So we've done kind of probably overkill, but proud of it.
Well, tell me what you've learned, given what I'm calling the sequestering of employees. What have you learned in this weirdness?
Yeah, I mean, we've always had a really strong value on being together. Most everyone comes into the office, and the hallway conversations and the community is something that everyone's really appreciated. So by removing that, that's been a new learning process of all of a sudden, video meetings and all of these things. I remember the first all team meeting we had where it was like, 20 people on video, and we're like, how's this going to work? And it just worked.
Yeah.
And we're like, this isn't so bad actually. And we've been just trying to really stress, video calls over phone calls, just to give people that FaceTime kind of feel, so people aren't feeling alone and things like that. And but as a someone running a business, I've just seen our employees step up and just the whole team rise to the occasion. And it's just nice to know that, when you hire great people, you don't have to worry about trust. You don't have to worry about, how hard people are working. People are working, probably too hard. And we have a culture where we really try to do like a work-life balance and not, do the typical startup excuse to get more out of people. We really want people to be healthy and long-term, not short-term sprinters.
Mm-hmm.
So if anything, we've had to almost walk people back off of, now that you're home and you have nothing else to do, remember to take care of yourself too,
Right.
So, and then we've learned some really good, important business lessons as well. When you're in something like this, you really button down the hatches and start looking at cash flow, forward facings, and your burn rate, and all of these things that sometimes when you're running fast, you just kind of shoot from the hip and just keep business going and growing. But you got to pause and be smart and diligent and disciplined all at the same time. And I think we really exercise those muscles more than we normally would.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been another good lesson out of this. And just making sure you have community and support and good advisors and people to be able to process with and have a little breakdown with every now and then and bounce back out of it, and and just be human. So those are all been pretty good lessons out of this whole thing.
Well, speaking about breakdown and bouncing back, my connection with Santa Cruz is in Boulder Creek
Yeah.
at the Heart Math Institute. Are you
Yeah.
familiar with that?
Heard of.
Yeah.
Yep, not too much familiarity, but
They're well, I've used heart math techniques for meditation and dealing with with staying present and things like
yeah.
that for 15 years, and
Wow.
wonderful group of people out there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so looking forward out 12 to 18 months, we're not going back to where we were ever, right? That's old news. What do you see next 12 to 18 months when you look around? What do you see coming? What kinds of things will endure from our experience here? What will change?
Yeah. I think people will continue to kind of rise up and come up with solutions and ways to help. And I think the first reaction is always, oh, how do I protect myself, or these things. And then but it's been really fun to watch people through this whole experience think of creative ways that they can help others and kind of step out of that. So I hope that continues. From a business standpoint, we've had to do a lot of pivoting really quickly when when you're doing office coffee and hospitality and things like that, things change, and even change within those spaces. So we've, as a sales team and a marketing team and as a business, we just have to make sure that we're continuing to look at what are the current needs, so we're not disconnecting from the relevancy of culture, the sensitivity of what's happening. One of the things we did early on is, I think it is stay steep, stay home was something we did. So we dropped all of our shipping costs and made sure that people could get home delivery delivered to your doorstep without having to go out, and really support and kind of get behind the movement of stay home, save lives kind of thing. It's like, hey, like, it's okay. Like, we'll help you out in this way as well. We followed that up with another campaign called You Give, We Give, which allows people to we found out we have a huge healthcare community. Nurses love our coffee. They bring it to work all the time, send us Instagram messages and thank you guys, you know, save my morning. And so that community has always been near and dear to us. And they're like working tirelessly, you know, crazy hours, sacrificing themselves, their family, they're staying at hotels, not even with their family. And we've just gotten so many stories about how selfless that whole first responders side of things is. So we're like, what can we do? We're just a coffee company, but we, you know, what do we have? What can we do? So we turns out Steeped works really well at hospitals because no one wants a shared coffee station right now.
Ah, right.
Right. So it's an individual sealed packet that's happens to be compostable and all those things as well with delicious coffee. And the
Nice.
shelf life, so it's like we can send them to hospitals and they can all have coffee and not worry about the, you know, the lack of social distancing aspect of the coffee station.
Right.
And everyone's got hot water and a cup and these things. So so we started this you give we give, and where someone buys coffee for first responders and then Steeped matches it,
Hmm.
and then we deliver it to the places who need it the most. And that's really taken off, and that's been fun to be dropping off massive coffee donations. And there's some pretty big ones coming out with some partnerships ahead that that's taken off with. So there's some really fun things that we've been able to do within the environment, but I think it's really important to kind of stay not just like freight training down a track of this was my 12-month goal, but kind of getting off the tracks and looking around and taking a deep breath and thinking how can you be part of a solution, right? You want to be relevant, you want to be helpful. A business is supposed to solve problems. So it's really just taking a quick step back and saying, how can we solve problems in this current environment?
Well,
Um,
do you think, uh, uh, I mean, what you're talking about reminds me of Bombas socks in San Diego. For every sock that's purchased, they give a pair of socks to homeless groups.
yeah.
I'm thinking, wasn't it Tom's shoes that,
Yeah, Tom's the little get one for one or buy
yeah,
one, get one. Yeah.
yeah. And do you see that for you? Do you see that going forward? Uh,
Well, as
the
long as
idea
it's a
of,
need, I don't think we don't have an end date.
uh
It wasn't, it was more on how can we meet this current need, and whether it's fire stations or hospitals or whatever, there's lots of, you know, police departments, there's lots of first responders being affected by this. And um, we're trying to highlight other people doing other things as well, because, you know, coffee's a small little thing that we happen to be able to provide, but there's a lot of other things other people do.
I'm going to stop you there. Coffee's not a small thing in our house.
Yeah.
In fact, I can share with you that regulates our relationship.
Yeah.
We literally love each other by saying every morning, "Can I make coffee for you?" Right?
Yeah. It's
And
it's my wife's love language, I'll tell you
well,
that.
me too. And in fact, when those bumps come up,
Yeah.
which they do from time to time, uh, asking, "Do you want coffee?" Is a way of saying, "Are we okay?" Because if she doesn't want coffee, it's not now.
Yeah.
But that's a language, right? That's a language.
Yeah.
Coffee is really important to us,
Yep.
and I think coffee is important to a lot of people.
It's a big part of people's traditions, their routines in the morning, how they socialize, how they connect with people. I mean, the coffee shop thing is, you know, it's real. And a lot of amazing conversations and connections happen over a cup of coffee. And we do this whole thing called marketplace missions. It's one of our directives we do, and we partner with a lot of nonprofits, churches, different things where we do custom packs for people in order to help them share the impact of what they're doing through a simple cup of coffee. So you
Hmm.
can have a cup of coffee with somebody and tell them about, you know, this incredible thing you're doing through your nonprofit. And so we have a lot of partnerships like that. And in that alone, we've seen that the impact of that, you know,
Well, all right. So going back to you mentioned that one of the things that was meaningful to you was that time when you were working in ministry with kids, youngsters, teenagers, right?
Yeah, it was all kinds of all ages. I personally had started running a 20s 30s group, but I was helping out in all
Okay.
connections and all
Well,
kinds of things.
what I'm wondering is this notion of um, using your business as it becomes profitable, then it's something you continue. But also the whole idea of helping people to see that relationship is what's important,
Yeah,
and that coffee is a way of having that relationship. Now,
yeah,
I mean, we were talking about Santa Cruz, and it seems to me that there was a time when certain behaviors that were illegal at the time and maybe less legal now. I mean, less legal, I mean, more legal now, but that was a way of building relationships, right? And and sometimes being a Christian can become isolating rather than engaging.
yeah.
And,
From a social aspect.
yeah. I mean, I am, and you're not, and my job is to turn you into who I am. That can be it can be isolating, but to focus on the relationship that the way I think about it is as a Christian we are agents of grace, and what I hear from you right now is you and your company are being agents of grace for hospitals, first responders, by giving them something that will help them through the day. And
Yeah,
you're saying it's small, but I don't think it's small. I think that's a large thing.
yeah.
And so I'm just wondering if in the future, I wonder how you could say or help people to recognize that having coffee together, offering somebody a cup of coffee, is a way of building a relationship.
Yeah, and that's I think that's a pretty, you know, relationship's such a big deal, right? No matter what background or faith background or anything, it's just connecting with people. From a faith perspective, I'm personally, you know, I benefit from the relationship that I have through, what I've experienced with God, with Jesus, with, those experiences I've had that have built up that relationship. And that is the relationship that, affects me and drives me, and that I put a lot of value in my own life, which does, seep into and extend out, and is a reflection of that into the things I do, right? And so although Steeped Coffee is, we're not a faith-based company or anything like that. That just happens to be, what I'm, myself and others as well, um, that drives me personally, and that extends into a whole bunch of things. So, whether it's, how I'm trying to love people, or be a better boss, or, we have some different things we do with, instead of top down leadership, it's bottom up servant based leadership. And, when I look at biblical stories and things like that, I see a lot of that kind of thing where, Jesus was really being the less of these and lowering himself down to be a servant, and
Mhm.
and serving people, being a high calling.
Mhm.
And when I look at, how does that reflect out in business? How does that reflect out in my personal life, or who I am as a leader and things like that? That's where it really kind of, probably comes out the most. But yeah, we have a whole bunch of core values that the company in general stands on. That is, coffee without compromise,
Mhm.
uh, which is focused on environmental sustainability and ethically sourced. So not affecting the environment bad. It's like reducing the impact on the planet that we're all stewarding. And then with people, it's direct trade relationships. with farmers and making sure that we're, honoring those relationships.
So
Another,
I want to ask you. You said you weren't a faith-based organization. That's fair. Uh, what it seems to me that I could describe your organization as a relationship-based organization. That you are that you see the value of relationships, and uh, I could just see a whole marketing piece around how we are using our efforts here to encourage relationships. I mean, you mentioned relationships with your coffee growers.
Mhm.
You mentioned relationships with your roasters and with other companies, and then also this whole notion of uh, of sharing and just seeing that this steeped coffee, which is as simple as using a tea bag,
Yep.
but that's an instant opportunity to build a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, relationships are a big part of, even what drives our core values as a company. The whole aspect of purpose beyond profits is, learning as much as we can as a company and sharing that with others. That's very relational. Uh, Also, just loving people out of the same love we've been given. But then it also extends even to more personal things, like take your moment is another saying that we have. And that's like to simplify, to find rest and reflection and balance in life. And that's just, have a cup of coffee, take your moment, just stop moving, stop thinking, stop whatever, and just take a moment, right? And
Right.
so that's, it's also got some deeper meaning there as well. And then the last kind of core value is convenience meets quality,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just looking at like innovation, using inspiration and creation to make things better.
Mm-hmm.
Attention to detail, just marvelously made, doing everything to reflect excellence. And
Right.
um, so there's a lot behind some of the values that we've really dug into the company. But yeah, relationships definitely one of them.
Right.
um, and Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about coffee. It definitely inspires that, whether it's taking a moment or whether it's sharing one with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Our goal was to just make a really excellent product, something that paid attention to every detail, solves a problem, creates a solution that makes someone's life somehow better, a little bit more simple, a little bit more convenient, and then doesn't create all these negative impacts.
Yeah.
So, now a simple cup of coffee can be delicious, ethically sourced, sustainable, compostable, um, and taste really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can enjoy it anywhere. So whether you're camping or at home or at the office, or
Right.
maybe that's your home office now, or wherever you are, it's an unplugged experience now, which is pretty
Right.
neat too. Yeah.
Right. Well, I've got it set up over here to push the button to order a sample that collection that you have of the 5 different flavors, and
Oh, nice.
see
Yeah.
what's going on. Yeah.
Awesome.
Have you ever heard of the Entrepreneurial Operating System (EOS)?
Yeah, so we actually follow along with Traction.
Ah,
Um, yep.
so you have a copy of the book. Have you read Get a Grip?
I have it on audiobook, but I haven't listened to it yet. I'm about to hit 4x on that and power through it.
Well, good, good, good. Well, maybe sometime after this, after our time here, we can talk about that, because that's what I do with companies is
Oh,
help
that's
companies.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's a huge value.
yeah,
A lot of our core values, our ethos, and kind of getting these things written down, and so we can communicate them and
hmm,
remind each other of them often, have come from exercises of going through Traction and
good,
going through EOS. And it's something we did. It was recommended early on to us, so it's actually something we were doing as a core team of five,
good,
6 people
right,
as we grew. So staying focused on our
right,
essential what we're good at, and all those things are such an important part of business. So
I'll give you a call and we can take some time and look at some of the tools that you have and
would
see if
love
there's
that.
anything I can do to help you make them better.
Would love that. It's
Great.
awesome.
And I love the Santa Cruz area up there. So that's a nice place.
Right.
Good. Well, all right. So this has been very wonderful. I really appreciate what you're doing. It sounds like you're having a lot of fun,
Oh
and
yeah.
that you are equipped to move through this. And so, what would you like to tell other startups, other companies, between 10 and 250 employees? What would you like to tell them?
Yeah. I think one of the things I always just, there's, think of ways you can do your business without creating negative impact. It's challenging, but possible. And I think it actually ends up being a better thing for the business overall. And there's so many different brainstorms that could culminate into, we actually do a 1% fund off of our revenue as well. And there's like simple things where it's just like, this comes in, you get to do this. And something as simple as that is changes revenue coming in from like a thing you get to do it to a thing you get to celebrate on, the awesome things you get to do with it, right? Versus it just coming in. So there's so many different aspects of positive impact that a company can have that solves real problems. I guess with the current environment, it's to stay relevant and to really be thinking through what the new problems are that can be solved, what the current environment is. So there's not insensitivity put out by what you're doing, but like responding to kind of and being aware of what's happening around you. And then, from a business standpoint, it's, now's the time to practice, being diligent on business fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a good thing to be focusing on as a team too. And just really valuing people. I mean, they're not just employees, they're teammates, and they should be family and everything else. And
Right.
whether that's, tough love and, praising in public and criticizing in private, whatever that looks like, there's a healthy balance between really valuing relationships, whether it's customers, employees, service providers, or whatever that looks like. So it's something that we're
Excellent.
trying to do our best with, right? And
Good.
nothing we ever do is perfect. All we can do is keep learning and try to keep improving and finding our faults and improving on them. And that's what we're trying to do. So
Good. Excellent. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. And it's just one more example of how businesses in California can thrive, even in the midst of this weird sequestering that we're going through. But businesses in California can thrive. So glad to be with you, and looking forward to a conversation with you later on.
thank you so much. Nice spending time with everyone. Thanks.
Take care.
You've been listening to the Pilgrim on the 405 with Will Christ.